our series on the Apocalypse, Armageddon, and our last 7 years, our future. The exciting part is what we learned is in Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 through 27, we learned about the 70-week prophecy, and we passed the first 69 weeks, and we had 1 week remaining, which we have made here. This week is afloat on the timeline of world history, and we know that at the end of the week, in verse 24, that Jesus will return. We learned in our former part that the beginning of the week there'll be a signing of covenant, then with the different things, the Jewish temple will be built, sacrifice will be restored, there will be the 10 economic regions, the prophet the false prophet, the Bible calls him, which had horns like a lamb, but he spoke as the dragon. In other words, he had horns, he is a powerful speaker, like a lamb, he is very innocent. Jesus was pictured as a lamb, so maybe he's Christian, maybe he's a Christian speaker, quote-unquote Christian that speaks like the devil. Or maybe he's a very docile, interreligious person that comes across harmless and will unite all religions into one in the worship of the Antichrist. We will have to see how this develops. But he's bad news, believe me. And he is smart, he is smooth, he talks suave, he can rant and he can rave. What all he's trying to sell you is an old jalopy for a silver shadow Rolls Royce. It will not be the truth, because he's a liar, first class. When he speaks of his own, and he'll speak with enthusiasm and character, but he speaks of his own and he's a liar and the father of it, Jesus said in John 8:44. So his thing be truth and lies. Here we go. We'll put this up. You see, it looks like truth, but when you go under the magnifying glass, you'll see it's all lies. Okay, we go to part 4, and we go to the book of Revelations. We go to Revelations chapter 12, and it says, "And there appeared another wonder in heaven." So far we've been discussing what happens on the earth. Now this happens in heaven, okay? "There appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns." So this is in the middle of the last 7 years, after 3.5 years. Many have speculated what the heads and the horns are, but it is actually quite simple. Revelation 17 says, 5 are fallen, 1 is, and 1 is yet to come. So that also makes sense. Now 5 are fallen, that was at the time of John, which were the empires that preceded the Roman Empire, because that was the Roman Empire at that time, and 1 is yet to come, which is the New World Order. It says, so the 5 that are fallen is Egypt. These are the empires that ruled the Middle East. This is not China, this is not the Incas in South America. The second one is Assyria, the third one is Babylon, the fourth one is Medo-Persia, the fifth one was Greece, so those 5 had fallen at the time. And then the 6th one is Rome, and the 7th one is the New World Order. The 10 horns are the 10 kings which have received no power as yet, but shall receive their power, it says, in 1 hour with the beast. So when the Antichrist comes to power, he will give power to the 10 world political economic regions. And this fellow is cast out of heaven. It says, Michael fought and his angels against the dragon and his angels. And Michael won, and the devil was cast out into the earth. Now, the devil and the demons are spiritual beings, and in order for them to work, to be believed by other humans, they have to possess humans. They have to attach themselves to something. And sometimes they try to attach to you, they try to attach to me, and they especially attach when you get upset, when you get hot-tempered. That's like an inroad through which they can come in. Well, the devil himself is cast out of heaven, and he is going for the big guy. He is going for the Antichrist, and he possessed the Antichrist himself. The Antichrist goes bananas, and he breaks the covenant. The covenant that he started here, he is going to break in the midst, after 3.5 years. It says, and in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. This is after 3.5 years. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate. Now, what does that mean? Abomination? What is an abomination? When we look at Luke 16:15, Jesus said, that which is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of God. What is highly esteemed among men? What do we all worship? Technology? It is, ladies and gentlemen, science, technology. What will be the greatest achievement? What do we want to do? What does science want to create? They want to make an android that is like a human being, with bionic chips, whatever it is. If they could recreate a human, then that would be the utopia of science. Well, this false prophet here, he will say, let us make an image to the Antichrist, to our friend, to our Messiah, and we shall make an image to him, and this is called the abomination. Now, he will put this robot, he will put a stop to the daily sacrifice, it says. This will be stopped. Okay, so he will stop the daily sacrifice. The Jews will say, this fellow is not our Messiah, because why would he stop the daily sacrifice? And many Jews will start searching, and they might come to the true Jewish Messiah, to Jesus. This abomination of desolation, Jesus talks about it. He says, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place. So this thing, this robot, this talking dolly will be set up in the temple, and it will be instead of the sacrifice. This will be an image of the Antichrist, and this image, it says, will have to be worshipped. In other words, we'll have to bow down before it, and we'll have to worship it. Now, can you imagine? On the one side, of course, it would be science. We need to worship science. Way with God. Who has seen God? Why do we want a God? We want to worship our science. We want to worship what we have created. We want to worship what we have done. Isn't that what man has done? It says they worship the works of their own hands, that which their own hands have made unto them for a sin. Oh yes, you made us, you created us. Oh, wonderful. We love you. However, this talking dolly is not just operated by biochips and by computer chips. As we know, demons exist, and they have certain powers. As we know of poltergeists, haunted houses, they have certain powers to operate in the physical realm. So they can move things, they can do things if they are within their realm. Now this fellow, will do his hocus pocus religious ceremony over this android, over this image of the Antichrist. And this thing actually will get demon possessed, and it will start talking on its own, it will start moving on its own, and it says, whoever will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. This thing will have the power to decide over life and death concerning us. Now that becomes a bit risky, because also the chip will be enforced. Here we already have been the promotion has been, and cash is getting less and less, but here it will be enforced. You have to take the chip. You will have to take the chip. And if you don't, this fellow, the robot or the image, will pronounce the death sentence on you. Wow! We are talking about a dolly that we have made that can give us the death sentence. What has happened to us? Where is our dignity? Well, many will not go for it. And many will not take it. It says, the mark of the beast, or the number of his name, and his number is 666. Now, many of us know the UPC, the Universal Product Code, as we see here. The 6, as you can see here, is represented by two thin lines. On each UPC, on any can of Coke or any food item that you buy in the supermarket, you can find the UPC, the Universal Product Code. And this beginning, in the middle and in the end, there is 3 elongated sets of lines. And each of these lines represents 6. So it is 6, 6, and 6. 666, as prophesied in the Bible many, many years ago. Maybe the chip will be based on the same numerical system, and this will be the 666 that we will get. Now, this is the start of the last 3.5 years, which Jesus called a time of great tribulation. He said, when you shall see the abomination, this thing, stand in the holy place in the temple, whoso read it, let him understand, he says. Jesus here tries to say to you that you've got to understand it. He says, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of time, no, nor ever shall be. And then he goes on. But immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened? And we will find out in the next series why the sun gets darkened. The moon shall not give light. The stars shall fall from it. But then shall appear the Son of the Son of Man. And he will gather together his elect from 4 winds of heaven, from one end to the other. Are you going to be part of that? Are you going to go up? Or are you going to stay down here? Because while we go up, there'll be disaster on earth. We'll discuss that in the next part.